In this video, I'll be using group policy to deploy Malwarebytes. I will deploy it using two different methods. One is where we create a group policy for domain computers and the computers install the software during startup. Another one is where we create a policy for domain users and then the users themselves can install the software whenever they like. I will also use Wix to package the executable into MSI file. I'm starting this video from my GitHub page, and that's because there are a few bits of information here that I will be using for this video. And I will leave the URL in the description down below. Also, in the bottom of the page, you can find more of my videos that are related to this topic. For example, here you can find my Windows Server setup if you're interested in that. There is also videos about extra settings and group policies that I'm using when deploying software using group policy, and also a few videos about Wix on how to install it and use it. And now I will begin this video by downloading Malwarebytes installation executable files, and for that I will use the link that I have here. That brings me to the Malwarebytes forum, because here we can find a link that allows us to download Malwarebytes offline installer. So I will click on it and the download should start, and then I will go to my downloads folder, and here we should have our executable. And now that we have our executable, we need to package it into a MSI file. And for that I will be using Wix, and for Wix we need a configuration file. And I have few of those in my GitHub page. One is called Malwarebytes, and this is already a finished configuration file that you can check out if you want to. But for this video I will be using this one called template, so I will click on it, and then I will click on the button here to download the configuration file. I will go back to the downloads folder, right click on the configuration file, select rename, and I will name it Malwarebytes. Then I will right click again and I will open it with Visual Studio Code. You can open it using any other text editor. As you can see, it's only an XML file. Basically, it's instructions for Wix on how to package the executable into MSI file for us. And when working with this file, we mainly care about this part right here, because here we need to fill in the specific information just for Malwarebytes package. First, we need to name our package. So I will name it Malwarebytes installer. Then for exe, we need to provide the executable name. And for that, I will go to my downloads folder. I will right click on the executable, select rename. I will select the full name to include the extension because that's important. Then I will copy the name and I will paste in the value here. Now for the path, we need to provide the location where we currently have our executable. And in my case, it's my downloads folder, and my downloads folder is in my D drive. So I will type D and then downloads. Then we need to provide silent arguments because we want this MSI file to execute Malwarebytes installation silently. And for silent arguments, I will go back to the GitHub page. And here I have all the necessary silent switches for Malwarebytes. So I will select them, I will copy them, and I will paste in the value here. And here we need to provide a version number, and this version number is for the MSI package and not for the software. In most cases, I like to keep my software version and my MSI package version the same, but to make this video simple, I will just give it a value of 1.0.0. Then publisher is not that important, but it's a mandatory field that we need to fill in. And I will enter, let's do automation. And the last thing that we need to provide is GUID, and GUID is a unique identifier. And we can use PowerShell to generate us a GUID. And for that, I have a PowerShell command in the GitHub page. So I will copy it, select it, copy it, and then I will open my terminal. I will paste in the command here. And as you can see, every time I'm using the command, I'm getting a new unique identifier. I will copy one of those values and go back to the configuration file and paste in the value here. And that's basically all the necessary information that we need to provide for Wix. And now we can use Wix to generate us an MSI file. For that, I will go back to the terminal. And here we want to change the location in our command line to the location where we have our configuration file. So like I mentioned before, my configuration file is in my downloads folder, and my downloads folder is in my D drive. So I will type cd and d and then downloads. Press enter. If I type there, you can see that in my current directory I have Malwarebytes Wix configuration file and then my executable. Now to build the package, we need to type Wix build and provide configuration file name. So for me it's malwarebytes.wxs and press enter. And now let's go to the downs folder and wait for our MSI package. And now that we have our MSI package, we can start deploying it. So I will right click on the file, select copy, and then I will go to my VMware workstation where I have my Windows Server environment. For now, I'll minimize the server manager. I will move the MSI file to my desktop, and from my desktop, I will move it to a network share that is accessible to my domain users and computers. So I will open File Explorer. Here I will enter my file server name, so it's srv02. Here I have my software share. I will go inside of it, and here I will create a folder named Malwarebytes. I will go inside of it and I will move the MSI file into this folder. And here you need to make sure that you have the correct NTFS and share permissions. For example, in my case, if I go to Properties, Security tab, and Edit, you can see that I have authenticated users with read permissions for my NTFS permissions, and I'll also have the same permissions for my share permissions. And authenticated users covers both users and computers in my domain, and with read permissions, that means that all of my computers and all of my users in my domain are able to access this share and execute files from it. So you need to have the correct permissions. Anyways, let's close everything here and go back to the server manager, because now we can start creating our group policies. And for that, let's go to Tools, Group Policy Management. I will right click on Group Policy Objects, select New. And the first policy that I will be creating will be for my computers. It's where the software is installed during startup. So I will name the policy assign Malwarebytes and click OK. Then I will expand group policy objects, and here we have our policy. I will right click it and select edit. And because this policy is for our computers, we need to go to the computer configuration, expand policies, expand software settings, and select software installation. Then let's right click here, go to new and select package. Here make sure that you're selecting a file that is located in a network share, because it allows you to select a local file on the server, but when the computers would try to install the software, they would fail because they don't have access to this file on the server. And that's why we need to select a file that is located in a network share. So to access a network share, I'll click here, then I'll type my file server name once again at srv02. Go to the software share, Malwarebytes folder, and select the MSI file that we have here. Here I will select Advanced and OK. Then let's go to the Deployment tab, Advanced, and here I will select Ignore Language when deploying this package, because I want to deploy this package to all of my computers, no matter what system language they have. Then I will click OK here and OK here, and now we can close this window because we're done creating our policy. Then here I will go to Details, and for GPU status from Enabled, I will switch to User Configuration Settings Disabled, because currently this policy only has computer configuration in it, and I will leave all other settings on default. Now, after creating our policy, we need to assign it to an organization unit that is holding the computers on which we want to install the software. And in my case, the organization unit will be this one, domain computers 1. So to assign the policy, I will select and call the policy and then drag it and drop it on the organization unit. Then I will click OK here, and as you can see, the policy appeared in this list, and also we can see it here. And that's about everything that we need to do here. Now let's test this group policy, and for that I will go to one of my client machines that is located in this organization unit, and the client is right here, client 01. And here we want to update our group policy, and for that I will go to Start menu, I will type in CMD, and I will open CMD without administrative privileges. Then I will type GP update and press enter. And it seems that the group policy update was successful. Here we are getting an informational message saying that it detected a software installation package and that we need to reboot our computer for the installation to happen. So let's reboot our computer, and for that I will type shutdown -r -t0 and press enter. And now let's wait a bit and see what's going to happen. As you can see here, our software package is being installed. And software installation seems to be done. Now we can sign back into our computer. And here we can see Malwarebytes desktop shortcut, so I'll double click on it. Here I will select get started, maybe later, get started. And it seems that Malwarebytes for this computer is working just fine. And that's it for deploying Malwarebytes to our computers. Now let's create another policy, this time for our users, and let's allow them to install the software whenever they like. So for that, let's go back to the server. I will right click on the group policy objects once again and select new. And this time I will name the policy publish Malwarebytes and click OK. Then I will select the policy here. Then I will right click it, select edit. And because this time this policy is for our users, we need to go to user configuration, expand policies, expand software settings, and select software installation. Then I will right click here, go to new and select package. Once again, make sure that you're selecting a file that is located in a network share. And this one is, so I will double click on it. I will select advanced here and select OK. Then let's go to the deployment tab, and here for installation user interface options, I will select basic because I don't want my users to select anything during the installation process. And I will click OK, and we're done creating our policy, so I will close this window. And this time for GPU status, I will select computer configuration settings disabled, because this time this policy has only user settings in it, and I will leave all other settings on default. Now we need to assign it to an organization unit, but this time we need to assign it to an organization unit that is holding our users. In my case, the organization unit will be this one, domain users. So to assign the policy, I will click and hold on the policy and then drag and drop it on the organization unit. As you can see, it appeared here and also in the list here. Now let's test this group policy, and for that I will go to my other client machine, client 02 that I have here. And here I have a desktop shortcut that allows us to install software from the network. And as you can see, the list is currently empty, and that's because we need to update our group policy. So for that, let's go to the start menu, type in CMD without administrative privileges, and type in GP update. And let's wait for the policy to update. And group policy update was successful. So now if I try to refresh the software list here, we can see our package. I will double click to start the installation. And the installation was successful, so I will click OK here. Once again, we have our desktop shortcut, so I will double click on it. I will select get started, maybe later, and get started. And once again, it seems that Malwarebytes is working just fine. And that's it for this video. In the future videos, I will show you how to deploy Malwarebytes using other software deployment tools. So like and subscribe if you want to see that, and see you in the next one.